What's up YouTube, Kristo here, and I've got another underrated gem for summer for you, this time from an indie niche house. This is Olfactive Studio's Panorama. Now I do say indie because even though it technically is, it doesn't have a major parent company and it is independently owned. It is very easily accessible around North America and Europe, distributed in Canada through several large chains, the biggest being Sephora, which is like the biggest makeup fragrance distributor in the world, possibly. So even though it is very easy to access, it is still technically an indie house. Now, quickly, just a little bit of history with this house. I'm not a big fan of Olfactive Studios. I find what they do to be quite gimmicky and goofy, and they focus more on packaging and naming than they do on the fragrances for the most part from what I've seen. When I first got to try this line, it was in Toronto, probably about a year ago, and I had never really tried anything. I think I had a sample of, one or two here and there, but didn't remember anything. So went through the line just testing them on blotters and just like, no, nothing, no, not my thing, doesn't do anything for me. Just kept going and going until I got to this. I was like, wow, that's stands out. Like, of all the things I smelled that day, this was like something that really stood out for me. And that's, going with like Chanel's and Armani Prives and Malls and Byredo, and this is something that really stood out to me that day. My thing with Olfactive Studios, I've not found anything from the house that is a masterpiece. And even this, as much as I like it, I wouldn't call it that. There's so many things from the house that I just find to be really boring and uninteresting. And this really jumped out at me. So it's definitely something, I'd say the only thing from the house that that even remotely interests me. I haven't tried Selfie, and I want to because I've heard it's like one of the worst fragrances ever made in like the modern niche world or indie world or whatever. That's fairly big distribution. So I really want to try it, but more because I've heard it's such a car wreck. But save that for another time. So notes for this one. This is what I really like about it. It does green, like green, but it does it a little bit differently, and it's not gimmicky. You get really green, crunchy, fresh fig. You get freshly cut green grass, and then you get some very spicy, very bold wasabi, which is just what totally makes this stand out to me. And I like it because it's kind of like doing something that could be traditional or could be close to what a traditional herbal green fragrance is, but then it just does something a little bit different, and that totally stands out. Other things from the house that I've tried that I remember like clearly what they smell like, they just don't stand out. To me, like Chambre Noir is just so boring. I've smelled that kind of thing a dozen times before. There's really nothing that stands out. Whereas this, even though I can't say it's outrageously unique, just that little wasabi twist totally makes a difference. And it, just makes this a really interesting scent to me. In the base, you do get kind of like a generic, sweet, soft white musk, which is, I think, the only downfall to this. It's kind of a big downfall, but it's still, to me, it's excusable because it's still decent enough in the dry down, but the opening of this is so awesome. I love it. I just can't get enough of it. So what does this remind me of? This reminds me of like some weird sushi fusion where someone's made sushi with grass clippings and chopped up fig, and then they've drizzled some wasabi sauce on it. It's just so green and tart and sour, and then you get this super spicy wasabi bite that I just love. It really, really is so unique. In that green world, I love it. I think it's such a great combo without being too weird or gimmicky at the same time. Wasabi, by the way, as well, when we eat wasabi or have wasabi flavored food in North America, it's not wasabi. Unless you're paying a lot for it, wasabi is actually very rare, very expensive, very hard to find. So usually what we're tasting in North America as wasabi is usually horseradish, which I also love. I think horseradish tastes great. They are related, but wasabi is actually very rare, very expensive, very hard to cultivate. So we don't really actually eat wasabi in North America usually. So performance on this one, it's kind of like good, maybe good plus, maybe about 6 hours plus, and this is an EDP standard. There is no EDT version. It's not great performance, but for something again that is just so fresh and green and somewhat light, it's kind of understandable. And I can tolerate 6 hours. Especially with such a great opening. I don't mind reapplying. It is a bit pricey, and I'll get to that in a couple minutes, but longevity is about 6+, I would say. Projection is modest. It'll project for a little while, maybe an hour, but even then it's still just kind of a little bit around you. It's not going to be filling a room or anything. Even though I wouldn't say this smells natural by any means, it's definitely synthetic smelling. And I don't mean synthetic in a bad way. I don't mean synthetic cheap, but it doesn't smell like real ingredients. So it is definitely something I would kind of expect to last or project a little more, but I can't. Again, I like the opening so much, I can kind of tolerate that. Occasion for this one, I think it's great casual, maybe smart casual. It's a bit pricey, like I said, I'll address later, but yeah, it's just like a nice, fun, uplifting green fragrance. It's not really something I think I'd wear to work. It might be a bit weird if I'm, in an office. People be like, "Who smells like wasabi and grass clippings or something?" But for a night out, to go for pints at the pub, I think this would probably be pretty good. Great for the heat, good at nighttime as well. It's spicy, it's a bit sweet in the dry down, so I think it covers a lot of more casual or semi, smart casual, let's say, occasions for the summer. Gender, totally up and down unisex. It definitely has a little bit of sweetness in the dry down, but the opening's quite green and tart, so I think it kind of counteracts. So yeah, I would say totally 100% this is a unisex fragrance. Price on this one, this is where it starts to get bad. They are not cheap. You're looking at a 100 ml bottle. They do have 50s and 100s. This is 100 ml here. 100 ml is 200 plus. I think in Canada, last time I saw, they were 225, which is quite a lot. I've not really seen them discounted, and when they are, they're not discounted heavily. But I do see them come up for sale, used where I got mine, on Facebook and in Facebook groups for very good prices. So there must be someone selling them out there on the gray market where they're getting them, because I can't imagine someone would buy this for $225 and then sell it 99% full for $100. So they must be out there somewhere for a decent price. Have a look around, but at retail, I don't know, honestly, I don't think I would pay retail for this. I really like it, and it's interesting. The packaging is gimmicky, but it does actually look nice, but don't buy something just for the packaging. That's such a big thing in fragrance, but it's just not, to me, what I would pay $2 plus at 100 mil for at retail. I think there are better things that are higher quality, that have better perfumers, better ingredients, etc., etc. You can find this for a cheap price. Great scent for summer, really fun, really unique, really interesting. Now, something that's come up quite recently on, I believe it's Fragrantica where I originally saw it, there is a campaign for Olfactive Studios to change their bottling. So supposedly, the house, these bottles here are just standard stock bottles, which means that if you buy them in bulk, pretty much anyone in North America can buy the exact same bottles. Now, obviously, they've altered the caps and they've customized them a little bit, but these bottles here are exactly the same that other fragrance brands, indie brands can buy. So Olfactive Studios are actually looking to change their bottles, and they're kind of doing like this crowdfunding thing where if you donate money, they'll give you, you know, gifts in return. So basically you're buying their perfume for a lot more than it's worth. My opinion, for a fragrance house that's distributed by Sephora, I think it is a bit cheeky to ask the customers to help foot the bill for their new packaging. But to each their own. If you want that kind of like exclusive, like little in with them, go ahead. It's your money. Do what you want. But I wouldn't buy into that at all. And honestly, from the design of the new packaging, from what I've seen, I heavily prefer these old bottles. I think they actually look quite nice, and I was actually kind of surprised to find out their stock, because I do think these bottles look nice. They're really solid, really simple presentation, albeit, you know, the box and everything is kind of gimmicky and the whole, you know, photography, artsy-fartsy thing, but whatever. So overall, positives for this one. I think it's one of the most unique and wearable green fragrances I've ever tried. I think it's something that's pretty easy to please. It's fairly easily accessible in North America. You can pretty much just get it online, or you can go into the local Sephora. It's just something fun and fresh and clean and different and easy to wear for summer, and I really enjoyed that a lot. Negative sides, yeah, the packaging. I think a lot of the price is going to the gimmicky packaging, which again, you know, I don't fall for that. I need more than a catchy package to get me to buy something. If you're into like really, really green fragrances, yeah, you're probably not going to like this. There is some sweetness in the dry down I can tolerate. I'm not a sweet kind of guy, but I have seen people complain online about the sweet dry down. They don't like it. Other people, and I will admit that the dry down is very underwhelming. This one is all about the first hour, maybe 2 hours of this, and then the dry down, I do admit, is pretty bleh. There's nothing really that amazing to it. Not that it's terrible, it just doesn't live up to the opening. Price at retail, yeah, it's too much. I wouldn't buy this at retail, and I was really glad I got a great deal on this. Other than that, I think it's a pretty solid overall. I'd say this is a pretty solid summer scent. If you don't mind shelling out $200 for 100 ml, or if you can pick this up used or discounted, gray market, whatever, I think it's definitely a great buy. Of course, I always advocate trying first. I am so against blind buying. You know, just because I like it doesn't mean you're going to love it. Always blind buy, but I think this is a really great, unique green fragrance for summer. So definitely something worth checking out. So there you go. Let me know, what do you think? What do you think of Panorama? What do you think of Olfactive Studios? What's your take on the line? Do you see it as gimmicky, or do you see it as kind of like innovative and new and unique? Whatever, let us know, and I'll see you again with another video soon.